Times 174 equals 2 times 100 plus 2 times 70 plus 2 times 4. That's all.
Before Tom Yohei and George Newell created television's most influential educational series, Schoolhouse Rock, was dismissed as too ambitious and impossible for children by network executives who couldn't imagine 3-minute cartoons teaching complex subjects.
Those funny-looking double-digit doogies as an answer, like 22, 33, 44, and 50.
The creators have finally revealed secrets that will transform your understanding of the cultural phenomenon that educated an entire generation through music and animation.
6 times 4 is 24. 7 times 4 is 28.
Anyone knows that, who cares about
The series that started with multiplication tables. What most fans don't realize is that Schoolhouse Rock was born from advertising executive David McCall's frustration that his son could remember rock lyrics but not multiplication tables. The series began as a radical experiment to see whether education could be as catchy and memorable as commercial jingles, applying Madison Avenue techniques to teaching mathematics, grammar, and civics to Saturday morning audiences. Bob Dorough revealed years later that ABC executives were skeptical about educational content during prime cartoon hours. They thought kids watching Saturday morning wanted pure entertainment, not lessons disguised as music. The idea that you could teach multiplication through jazz and rock seemed crazy to network programmers who saw education and entertainment as completely separate categories. The project survived only because advertising agency connections gave the creators unusual access to network decision-makers. Tom Yohei disclosed that the animation budget was microscopic compared to traditional Saturday morning cartoons. We had to be incredibly creative with limited resources. The simple animation style that became iconic was partly aesthetic choice and partly financial necessity. We couldn't afford elaborate Disney-style animation, so we developed a distinctive visual language that was economical but memorable. The constraints accidentally created the show's unique identity, the musicians who made learning unforgettable. The songwriters weren't typical children's entertainers. They were accomplished jazz and rock musicians who brought sophisticated composition to educational content.
my dear? 2 times 6 is 12. Elementary, my dear. 2 times 7 is 14.
What the composers revealed about creating these songs shows how musical complexity made the lessons more memorable rather than dumbing down content for young audiences. Bob Dorough disclosed his jazz background influenced every composition. I approached these educational songs with the same seriousness as my jazz work. 3 is a magic number. Used sophisticated chord progressions and rhythmic patterns that respected children's musical intelligence. We never condescended to the audience by simplifying the music. We trusted that kids could appreciate complexity and that sophisticated arrangements would make the content more memorable. This respect for young listeners elevated the entire series. Lynn Ahrens revealed that writing the preamble required extensive research to make constitutional concepts accessible without losing accuracy. I had to understand the Constitution deeply enough to explain it in simple language while maintaining a melody that would stick in people's heads forever. The challenge was being educational without being pedantic, entertaining without being frivolous. The song became many Americans' primary introduction to constitutional principles. Jack Sheldon noted how "I'm just a bill" used personification to make legislative process comprehensible. Turning a bill into a character who explains his journey through Congress made abstract political concepts concrete and relatable. The song taught civics better than most high school textbooks because it created emotional connection to what seemed like dry governmental procedures. The animation that defined a generation's aesthetic. The distinctive visual style wasn't just budget limitation. It was deliberately graphic and bold approach that rejected Disney naturalism. What the animators revealed about creating this look shows how necessity combined with artistic vision to create instantly recognizable aesthetic that influenced decades of animation design. The decision to use limited animation and graphic design principles rather than full animation was both practical and philosophical. We were influenced by 1960s graphic design, pop art, and the psychedelic poster movement, disclosed the animation team. The bold colors, simple shapes, and graphic layouts made the content visually dynamic while remaining economically feasible. Each frame was designed like a poster, rather than trying to create realistic movement. Tom Yoe revealed that many iconic images were created through collage and mixed media. We used cut paper, photographs, and graphic elements combined with traditional animation. This mixed media approach gave the series visual variety and taught kids that animation didn't have to mean Disney-style character movement. The experimental aesthetic exposed young audiences to avant-garde techniques disguised as educational content. The animators noted how the visual style matched the musical diversity. Each segment had its own visual personality that reflected the song's genre. Conjunction Junction had a funky urban feel, while Interjections was more theatrical and exaggerated. The visual diversity kept the series fresh and demonstrated that educational content could be stylistically adventurous and visually sophisticated. The grammar songs that revolutionized English class. The grammar segments weren't just teaching parts of speech. They were transforming abstract linguistic concepts into memorable characters and scenarios. What Lynn Ahrens revealed about writing these songs shows how personification and metaphor made grammar rules accessible to students who struggled with traditional textbook approaches. Conjunction Junction became the most famous grammar lesson by turning coordinating conjunctions into train cars connecting ideas. The metaphor of conjunctions as railroad switches that connect different tracks made the concept instantly visual and memorable, disclosed Ahrens. Teachers told me that students who couldn't define conjunctions after weeks of traditional instruction understood them immediately after hearing the song once the metaphor did what endless worksheets couldn't accomplish. Jack Sheldon's performance in Rufus Xavier Sarsaparilla demonstrated pronouns through a character with an absurdly long name. The joke was that pronouns save you from saying Rufus Xavier Sarsaparilla repeatedly, noted the creators. The humor made the grammatical concept stick because kids enjoyed the absurdity while learning that pronouns replace nouns to avoid repetition. The science songs that made math musical. The multiplication and science segments weren't just memorization aids. They were proving that mathematical concepts could be as emotionally engaging as any other content. What Bob Dorough revealed about composing these songs shows how mathematical relationships could be expressed through musical patterns that made abstract concepts concrete and beautiful. 3 is a Magic Number became the series' signature song by using mystical imagery to make multiplication feel magical rather than mechanical. I wanted kids to see beauty in mathematical relationships, disclosed Dorough. 3 appears throughout nature, religion, and culture. Past, present, future, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, beginning, middle, end. The song showed that math isn't just calculation, but pattern recognition that connects everything in the universe. The Energy Blues taught scientific concepts about energy transfer through blues music's emotional vocabulary. Using blues to explain thermodynamics seemed crazy, but the music's inherent structure about loss and transformation perfectly matched the scientific principle that energy changes form but never disappears, noted Bob Dorough. The emotional resonance of blues made physics concepts memorable through feeling rather than just logic. The revival that proved timeless appeal. The series' resurrection in the 1990s wasn't just nostalgia. It was recognition that the educational approach remained superior to most contemporary teaching methods. What the creators revealed about the revival shows how the original vision's quality transcended changing educational trends and technological advances. The decision to create new segments in the 1990s demonstrated that the format could address contemporary issues while maintaining the original spirit. We added The Shot Heard Round the World, about the American Revolution, and Presidential Minute, expanding the civics curriculum, disclosed the production team. The new songs proved the concept wasn't dated. Good educational content that respects children's intelligence never becomes obsolete. The cast revealed that celebrities who'd grown up with the series wanted to participate in new segments. Famous musicians and actors volunteered to perform because Schoolhouse Rock had shaped their own education, disclosed the producers.
some other word in the sentence. Busy peas, if you...
On the top is...
The enthusiasm from successful adults proved the series' lasting impact on American culture and learning. The lost segments that never aired. Several completed segments were deemed too controversial or complex for broadcast and remained shelved for decades. What the creators revealed about this censored content shows how even educational programming faced network resistance to certain topics, and how some subjects were considered inappropriate for Saturday morning audiences. Despite their educational value, The Energy Blues faced resistance because it mentioned fossil fuel depletion and environmental concerns that sponsors found too political. Network executives worried that teaching kids about finite resources and pollution would upset oil companies and automotive sponsors, disclosed Bob Dorough. The song was factually accurate science education, but commercial considerations meant some truths were considered too controversial for children's programming. The lost segments represented roads not taken in American civic education. If we'd been allowed to produce the labor history and economic justice segments, an entire generation might have learned about collective bargaining and wealth inequality alongside multiplication and grammar, disclosed the creators. The boundaries around acceptable educational content shaped what Americans learned and didn't learn about their own society. The musical legacy that changed educational media's influence extended far beyond its original run to fundamentally transform how educators approach teaching through media. What the creators revealed about the series' lasting impact shows how one experimental program proved that entertainment and education weren't opposing forces, but could enhance each other when combined with creativity and respect for young audiences' intelligence. The series demonstrated that children could appreciate musical and visual sophistication when content was designed with care rather than condescension. We proved that kids would engage with jazz, rock, folk, and blues if the music was well crafted and the educational content was integrated naturally, disclosed Bob Dorough. The success influenced decades of educational programming that followed, from Sesame Street's musical segments to modern educational YouTube content. Contemporary educational content creators cite Schoolhouse Rock as primary influence on their work. Every educational YouTuber, podcast, and streaming series that uses music and engaging visuals owes debt to what we established, noted the producers. We showed that learning could be entertaining without compromising educational integrity, and that sophisticated content could reach mass audiences if presented in accessible, memorable formats. The series' songs remained in active use in classrooms 50 years after original broadcast. Teachers still play these segments because they work better than most modern educational technology, revealed Lynn Ahrens. The combination of memorable melodies, clear explanations, and engaging visuals creates learning experiences that stick with students for life. That longevity proves that good educational content transcends technology and trends. The cultural impact extended into unexpected areas as musicians, politicians, and educators referenced the series in their own work. Schoolhouse Rock became part of American cultural literacy, disclosed the creators. References to the series serve as generational markers and shared touchstones that connect people who grew up learning multiplication, grammar, and civics through our songs. That shared educational experience became part of national identity for millions of Americans. Watch the series again with appreciation for its musical sophistication, its respect for children's intelligence, and its lasting impact on American education and popular culture. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into television's most influential educational programming that shaped how generations learned and understood their world.